Hello, and welcome to the Intel Briefing, your daily intelligence brief on global geopolitics. I'm your host Daniel, the founder of HM Intelligence. Every weekday, we bring you not just the news, but the so what from events and decisions that shape our world. The brief will be short and sharp, allowing you to stay informed and up to date. So grab a coffee, sit back, and relax. In today's update, we'll be covering Sudan's RSF agreeing to US-backed ceasefire talks, Jewish demonstrators being arrested in anti-Netanyahu protests, and climate change protests in Germany blocking Cologne airport. So firstly, the leader of the Sudanese Paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, has expressed support for upcoming US-backed ceasefire talks in Switzerland. He acknowledged the efforts of the United States, Saudi Arabia, and Switzerland in organising these talks aimed at ending the violence in Sudan. He emphasised the RSF's readiness to participate in the discussions, hoping they would lead to a lasting peace and stability in the country. He wants to establish a new Sudanese government grounded in justice, equality, and federal governance. The Sudanese civil war, which began last April between the RSF and the Sudanese armed forces, has resulted in tens of thousands of deaths and displaced millions. While the RSF has welcomed the ceasefire initiative, the Sudanese army has not yet commented. US State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller highlighted the significance of the talks and bringing the parties back to the negotiating table, viewing the dialogue as the best chance for achieving a nationwide peace. The conflict has led to a severe humanitarian crisis, including fears of famine and numerous accusations of war crimes against both sides. The UN's International Fact-Finding Mission for Sudan has documented severe human rights violations, urging the international community to intervene to end the war. The mission, after interviewing Sudanese survivors in Chad, reported harrowing accounts of killings, sexual violence, arbitrary detention, and the use of child soldiers. Previous attempts at dialogue, such as indirect talks in Switzerland and meetings in Jeddah, facilitated by Saudi Arabia, have shown little promise. The upcoming talks are seen as a critical opportunity to address the ongoing issues and move towards resolution. So what? It is quite interesting to see the RSF come to the negotiating table, as they were the original belligerents in this conflict. It is possible they are seeing a reduced amount of support coming from Russia, as they've been backed by Wagner mercenaries throughout the conflict. The lack of support may be due to the prolonged conflict in Ukraine, something Russia wasn't originally counting on. If this is the case, it is likely that they are looking to consolidate their gains before they become overwhelmed by government troops. And this may be why government forces have been unwilling to come to the table. Next, on Tuesday night, police arrested multiple protesters from the group Jewish Voice for Peace as they demonstrated inside the Cannon House Rotunda, part of the US Capitol complex. The protest was in opposition to Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's upcoming speech to US Congress. The group stated that 400 US Jews participated in the sit-in, demanding the US government cease arming Israel amidst the ongoing conflict in Gaza. Police intervened when the demonstrators refused to leave, as protesters are not allowed inside the Cannon House. Netanyahu's visit to Washington is marked by strained US-Israeli relations, and he is set to address US lawmakers, making it his fourth speech to Congress, a record for any foreign leader. Netanyahu is also scheduled to meet with Joe Biden, Donald Trump, and Kamala Harris, though Harris will miss his speech due to a campaign event. His address is expected to focus on the conflict in Gaza, following the October 7th Hamas attack on Israeli civilians. So what? This is a controversial time for Israel, and it is unlikely that Netanyahu's visit and speech will be able to subdue the current criticism against him and his government. However, regardless of how you feel about this situation and Israel's policies towards Palestine, I think he should be allowed to speak to Congress, as they provide Israel with so much money and support. Additionally, it appears highly likely that the next US government will be reluctant to change their policies towards Israel in a meaningful way. And lastly, flights at Cologne airport in Germany were temporarily halted today when climate change activists from the group Last Generation cut through fencing and glued themselves to the runway. The group claimed responsibility for the protest on social media, aiming to pressure the German government into agreeing to end coal, oil, and gas use by 2030. One of the activists stated that this was just the beginning of a series of planned actions in Germany, Europe, and around the globe. While he did not confirm if the upcoming Olympics would be targeted, the group has already conducted a similar protest at Oslo airport. By Wednesday afternoon, air traffic control at the airport had resumed, but there were some delays and cancellations. The protesters were arrested and charged with offences against the Assembly Act, dangerous interference with air traffic, and trespassing. Last Generation, founded in 2021, identifies itself as the last generation before Earth reaches an irreversible climate tipping point. Their protests in Germany have primarily focused on disrupting transport systems to influence policy changes. So what? I have little sympathy for these types of protests. While I agree that more should be done for climate change, actions such as this highly likely have little effect for their cause. I think it is more likely that disrupting flights, highways, and sporting events are more damaging to their cause than it does help, and it just alienates climate change activists on the whole. So thank you for listening to the Intel Briefing, your daily intelligence brief on global geopolitics, brought to you by HM Intelligence. If you want to support the podcast, tell your friends to help them stay informed and leave us a 5-star review. Or if you want to learn more about intelligence, why not take one of our courses? They're all online, self-paced, and affordable. Thank you for listening. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you next time.